They buried their father one day and buried their brother's trust the next. Kunle thought mourning would bring them together, but instead, betrayal came wrapped in family titles and hidden papers. His siblings made one thing clear. Kunle's name was erased from the will. What happens next will expose everything they tried to hide. The sun was setting over Ipetumodu, bathing the village in a soft orange glow. But in the Adeyemi compound, tension was rising. Kunle sat under the old mango tree, the one his father had planted years ago. His lips were pressed into a thin line as he listened to his siblings' hushed voices from the porch. "Since Daddy is gone, we have to discuss the will," Tayo, the eldest, announced, trying to sound calm, but Kunle could hear the edge in his voice. Kunle sighed, the loss of their father still a fresh wound. "Tayo, can't we talk about this later? We just buried him." "We have to talk about it now," Tayo insisted, his eyes shifting. Kunle stood up, brushing dust off his trousers. "What is the hurry? Can't we mourn properly?" Tayo exchanged a look with their sister Sade. "We found out some things, Kunle. Things concerning Daddy's estate." Kunle's brows knitted together. "What things?" "You don't need to worry about it," Sade replied with a dismissive wave, though her eyes betrayed something else, a hint of guilt. Kunle felt a knot tighten in his stomach. "I'm already worried. Be straightforward with me." Sade avoided his gaze, picking at an invisible spot on her wrapper. Tayo cleared his throat. "The will has some discrepancies." Kunle's suspicions were aroused. "Discrepancies? Or excuses to cut me out?" "Ah, Kunle, why are you talking like this?" Sade said, trying to laugh it off, but it sounded forced. That evening, the compound was quiet except for the low murmur of crickets. Kunle sat in his room, staring at the faded photograph of their family. He remembered his father's words, always teaching him about integrity and fairness. How could his own blood now scheme against him? His heart ached with the weight of betrayal. The next morning, Kunle found himself in front of the family lawyer, Mr. Eager. "I don't understand why the will changed. My father discussed this with me before he passed." Mr. Eager sighed, removing his glasses. "Kunle, your father did make amendments in the year before he died. They favored Tayo and Sade, but excluded the specifics he shared with you." "But why?" Kunle asked, more to himself than anyone else. Just then, the door opened. Tayo marched in, his face a mask of confidence. "Reading the will won't change anything, you'll see soon enough." Kunle's fists clenched at the insolence. "We are family, Tayo. This greed will tear us apart." "Stop acting like a saint, Kunle. We all know you don't belong here anymore." The words cut deeper than any knife. Kunle left the office, heart heavy with the weight of his siblings' betrayal. On the dusty path back home, whispers followed him, neighbors discussing the Adeyemi incident. Respect was slipping through his fingers like grains of sand. He walked faster, trying to outrun the shame that clung to him. Finally alone in his room, the tears came unbidden. He thought of his late father. What would he say about this mess? How had things gotten so twisted? Why had Tayo and Sade changed? The weight of loss, both of his father and now, it seemed, his family, pressed down hard. Days passed in a haze. Kunle noticed the sidelong glances from the villagers. They knew his siblings' plot, yet no one spoke up for him. He was the outsider in his own home, isolated. His siblings had moved into their father's room, already ruling the compound with a cold authority. Sade cornered him in the kitchen, where Kunle sat listlessly over a bowl of untouched amala. "We're having a family meeting in the parlor tonight. You should be prepared." "Prepared for what?" Kunle asked, not bothering to hide the bitterness in his voice. "Prepared to move on with your life," she replied with a chilling finality. That evening, the parlor was a battleground. Tayo listed off terms, his voice echoing in the room. Legal babble, shares, properties. None of it sounded like the legacy their father meant to leave. "You want me to leave so you can have everything?" "We're offering you something," Tayo retorted, pushing a paper across the table. Kunle glanced at the paper. A paltry settlement. Anger surged inside him. "This is my father's legacy. You can't just buy me out." Sade stepped forward, her voice low. "It's all you deserve." Betrayal boiled in his veins, more potent than ever. Kunle stood, shaking. "If you think this is the end, you're wrong. I'll fight for what's right." "We'll see about that," Tayo scoffed, mocking, as Kunle turned to leave the room. Back in his bedroom, Kunle's mind raced. If his own family could betray him, what other allies could he trust? A plan began to form, raw and revenge-driven. He couldn't let his father's dream die in selfish hands. The urge for justice fanned flames of determination within him. A week later, Kunle caught wind of a family gathering, a meeting with the community elders about the will. They hadn't told him. Kunle approached the meeting place quietly, unnoticed. From the shadows, he overheard Tayo's confident voice, addressing the elders, spinning lies. "This is not only our inheritance, but a new beginning, one my brother didn't understand." Kunle's eyes burned as he stepped into the light, startling everyone. "Let's see if the elders approve of betrayal, dressed as a new beginning," he declared, his voice carrying a heavy promise. The elders shifted uncomfortably in their seats, casting glances between Kunle and Tayo. Kunle's eyes were fierce, unblinking. He waited for Tayo to respond. "This is family business, Kunle," Tayo said coldly. "We don't need outsiders interfering." Kunle took a deep breath, steadying himself. "Outsiders? You make me sound like a stranger in my own home. But maybe that's how you see me now." Elder Olayiwola, the head of the council, cleared his throat, attempting to diffuse the rising tension. "We are here to ensure fairness. The Adeyemi name is respected in this community, and we must ensure it stays that way." Sade stood beside Tayo, her face a mask of defiance. "We've done nothing wrong," she insisted. "Father's wishes were clear." "Whose father?" Kunle shot back. "Because the father I knew taught us about honesty and love." Elder Olayiwola raised a hand to call for calm. "Kunle, if you feel there is an injustice, we want to hear from you." The meeting continued, emotions simmering just below the surface. As the discussion unfolded, Kunle felt the weight of years spent together as siblings now overshadowed by greed and manipulation. "I won't let the truth be buried," Kunle said finally. "You will not rewrite our father's legacy." Tayo's voice was sharp, filled with irritation. "This isn't about legacy, Kunle. It's about moving forward." "Your so-called moving forward steps over me and the values we were raised with," Kunle retorted, his anger palpable. The elders listened, weighing the words and tension. The atmosphere was charged, each sibling refusing to back down, their father's history dangling in delicate balance. At last, Elder Olayiwola bowed his head, the room falling into expectant silence. "We must pray for wisdom," he said gently. "This is no longer about the will, but about healing this family." As the meeting dispersed, whispering among themselves, Kunle stepped into the night. The path home was a blur of anguish. He was a lone figure beneath the darkening sky. Kunle, a voice called softly. He turned to see Mama Abini, an elderly widow and longtime neighbor, knitting fiercely in her doorway. Her eyes were warm with deep wisdom. Kunle hesitated, his pride wanting to reject comfort. Yet something in Mama Abini's gaze undid him. They've turned family into strangers, he confessed, voice cracking. How can someone betray those they claim to love? Mama Abini motioned for him to sit beside her. Oju kanko si woyi, she said. One eye cannot look enough. Sometimes the heart wanders from what is right, but vengefulness, it only deepens that wander. I thought exposing them would bring justice, Kunle admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. But the pain remains. Mama Abini nodded, understanding lining her face. Have you prayed about it? The question caught him off guard. Kunle shook his head slowly, shame melting into regret. What difference would it make? Words cannot change the past. It is about changing the heart, my dear. God changes our hearts first. As Kunle sat on the porch, watching the village settle into night, Mama Abini's words echoed in his mind, unsettling, yet full of truth. Swirling anger began giving way to introspection. When he entered his room, shadows danced across the walls. A small Bible lay among his belongings, its edges worn and familiar. Flipping through the pages mindlessly, he landed on a verse, its words highlighted from past reflections. Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Kunle stared at it, heart thumping wildly. He had read it countless times before, but now, amidst bitter betrayal, it demanded his complete attention. Releasing a shaky breath, Kunle bowed his head, allowing the guarded walls around his heart to quake. Kunle prayed, not for revenge or retribution, but for clarity and strength. Words emerged brokenly at first, then flowing, guided by a need deeper than the hurts he harbored. Help me see through the anger, Father, to find peace amidst this storm, he whispered. The simple prayer cocooned him, an unexpected balm to open wounds. The next morning brought newfound resolve. Kunle approached his siblings as they gathered in the compound, the sun's first light spilling across their uneasy faces. I didn't come here for another fight, he said, catching Sade's eye with a sincerity that held weight. But to tell you that despite everything, I cannot hate you. Tayo scowled, defensive walls still up. But Kunle's words hung in the air, sowing seeds of doubt among their certainty. I've realized, Kunle continued, words filled with a newfound gentleness, that our father's legacy isn't bound by what's written on paper. It lives in us forgiving, even when wronged. The confession cut through the tension, disarming and exposing vulnerability within their standoff. Sade's eyes glossed, uncertainty seeping into her steely demeanor. Kunle, we didn't mean what we did, she faltered, emotion bubbling to the surface. Tayo and I, we were wrong. She lowered her gaze, the weight of her actions finally breaching the surface. Tayo's stubborn facade began cracking, an unspoken understanding passing between the siblings like a gift neither expected nor deserved. Kunle nodded, feeling the impact of peace transforming the remnants of resentment within him. Whatever you choose going forward, know that I forgive you both. A stunned silence settled among them, heavy but hopeful. The realization that God's grace was spacious enough to hold all their broken pieces offered a fresh beginning. Kunle's journey wasn't over, nor were the familial fractures instantly healed. Pain would linger, like scars reminding them of folly and faith. Yet the day seemed brighter. As Kunle turned, an unmistakable peace accompanied him, a silent vow to trust God where vengeance once dictated. He left Tayo and Sadi standing more together than apart, with reconciliation on the horizon. Thank you so much for listening to this intriguing story. I hope it touched you or taught you something. For more stories like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the page. And guys, if you'd like to see a part 2, or you have thoughts on what happened, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.